In this video, we'll be continuing our discussion into the auditing of new suppliers and how you can employ some of the processes that we use when ensuring that new suppliers are up to scratch for our clients. Hi there and welcome to Behind the Imports. I'm George Tewson, founder of MerchSprout and Behind the Imports podcast. Behind the Imports is a podcast and video blog that aims to teach importers of stock from overseas suppliers and how to ensure that their venture into manufacturing overseas is successful. And we do this by ensuring that quality is at the forefront of all of our processes, and we aim to pass some of this knowledge on to you. In our first video about auditing of new suppliers, we discussed the opening questions that we asked when initially visiting the facility and how to ensure that you're actually visiting the facility that we're making your products. We discussed the rationale as to why we ask for legal documentation of the factory and some of the official certifications to ensure that your manufacturing facility is legal and acting in a way that you would expect. In this video, we're going to continue our discussion into factory auditing and how you too can ensure that you are working with a facility that not only is acting in your best interests, but can produce components accurately and capture quality issues too. So we're going to continue on our audit document explanation and discuss some more of the questions we ask when ensuring that manufacturing partners are the correct facilities for our clients. When we set out on a factory audit in China, one of our team members at MerchSprout in market will go into the facility and actually see the product that is being produced. They'll walk the line, inspect processes and see if the facility is able to robustly produce components, not just at the quality requirement, but the numbers required to satisfy customers' needs too. Now, this process is derived from an automotive best inspection procedure named Fresh Eyes. It sometimes takes a fresh eyes set of eyes to really drive the clarity of a process and production line, and we document everything that we see. When walking the line, we are cross-referencing the information that the facility is telling us and ensuring it actually stacks up against real-world scenarios. So we ask questions such as, when did the company start trading and when did the facility get built? The reasons why we ask these questions and cross-reference it against what we can actually see is the longer the factory has been in the existence, the better. Now, this is because the longer the facility has been there, the more likelihood is the facility will not just move overnight. And it's a real possibility. We also cross-reference what we can actually see with regards to the age of the machines against the age of the facility. If the facility is only a year old, for example, but the machines are 20 years old, then you really need to be asking why and where the machines came from. Really drive into the details, as it may save you some heartache later on. We start in facility inspections by asking about the company's finances as well. Ask about the revenue details, total revenue from previous years, and then you can start to build up a picture around the factory and start to understand if it's actually been successful financially. You don't want to be in a relationship with any manufacturing facility that does not have any financial stability, and inquiring about the previous year's turnover is a good way to understand it. Potentially, you could be investing money in tooling that's kept at the manufacturing facility. You obviously don't want it to close down overnight, and it's a very real possibility that this can happen. Your tooling could be lost, misplaced, or even worse, if a company owes creditors, then your tooling could be locked away. So inquiring about revenue is a great way to feel the sustainability of the company. We ask things like last year's revenue, this year's revenue, and cross-references against the government tax returns information if necessary. We then ask about their current customers' locations. Are they international or domestic? This gives a good indication of the capability of the facility's aptitude, not just to be able to work with international companies, but also their ability to follow potential compliance regulations and work to international standards. It also gives us a feel to the current compliance regulations that the factory facility already has. When we start to ask around the factory workers, we start to ask things like how many workers work in the factory, because this gives a good understanding into the capacity of the manufacturing capabilities of the factory. If there is a very small number of workers and you have a very large order, then you know that the capability of the capacity may not be enough, and subsequently, this may not be the correct facility for you nor clients. It could be that if you are dead set on this facility because of things like price point, you can conduct cycle time calculations based upon manufacturing techniques and request that they employ more people to produce your product. These cycle times, or also called takt times, are a great way to calculate the overall time to produce your component. But we could do an entire video explaining takt time, so maybe we'll discuss that another day in another video. Now, as part of some of the social compliance side of the facility audit, you need to be inquiring where the staff who work in the factory actually live, be it in dormitories or their private housing. And although this is not a full social compliance audit, it's in no one's interest for workers to be housed in substandard conditions or employing child labour. By asking where the staff live, you can speak to the line workers and ask the information provided by the facility is actually correct. We then turn our attention to the actual manufacturing of components. We inspect the machinery that's used on the production line. Now, what we do, we ask about how many pieces of machinery they have in the factory and if the machinery is produced in China or is imported. And the reason why we ask about the manufacturing location of the machinery is to gauge the risk in the event of a malfunction and subsequently repair. Now, if the 100% of the machinery is imported and it's quite complex machinery, then there could be a considerable amount of downtime if there was an issue on the production line. But by no means is this a deal breaker, but it's good to get a full risk assessment of all the items that may trip us up. We then ask about the age of machinery. We cross-reference this against the manufacturing stamps on the machines themselves, and then we look at the conditions of the machines. Are they well maintained, and do they seem to be in good working order? Our next questions then concentrate around the capacity capability of the factory. We ask how many components can be made from the facility, and how many did they make last month, and how many they can make this month. We then ask around the distribution and the distribution status of the facility. We ask if they are an OEM, an OEM, or have they the sole rights as a distributor for any of the components that they make. This is to understand if we were to share any designs or potential new products or product knowledge, what risk to our components do we have? You really want to understand if there are any exclusive distribution systems in place that may be a conflict of interest to you and the facility. We would note down any companies that are a sole distributor and then conduct investigations into them companies. So, as you can see, we're now starting to build up a great picture of the capability and sustainability of the facility just by asking some pretty basic questions. If the facility is honest and the answers are that you're hearing are good, then this is probably a good indication that you found yourself a manufacturing facility that you want to work with. The good thing about being in the facility is you can start to see the cracks if the facility is not being totally honest. There is, however, a very large elephant in the room when it comes to conducting facility audits overseas, and it's all based around trust. Now, we have been developing our systems for auditing for 10 years, based upon our experience in China and Asia, and learning from the mistakes that we've made in the past when working with manufacturing facilities that turned out to be less than ideal. But all this work can be undone if your agent on the ground is either not trustworthy or does not have the capability to investigate facilities in the manner that's required. Find a trustworthy and capable agent that can communicate not just with you, but with the factory. And it's a must if you want to find and maintain the good working relationships with manufacturing facilities overseas. Now, in our next episode, we'll be discussing how we ensure that the facilities employ the correct level of quality assurance, how they capture component manufacturing issues, and how the facility captures substandard components and ensures them from leaving the facility. Thanks very much for watching this video. If you want to learn more about quality assurance, supplier auditing, and how to employ statistical analysis into quality control systems, then be sure to check out our other videos and content and visit us at merchsprout.com. Thanks for watching, and remember, quality stems right from the source.